Today we'll do the poem Ulysses. Ulysses is a poem which was a favorite of my father, and it is written by Alfred Tennyson. Alfred Tennyson was a Victorian poet who was also the poet laureate of England during the reign of Queen Victoria. So here he has written a poem about Ulysses. Ulysses, also known as Odysseus, was a hero in the Greek mythology. Ulysses was a very clever warrior who was responsible for the fall of Troy. What had happened was Paris, one of the most handsome of men, had stolen uh, Helen of Troy from her husband, King Menelaus of Greece. King Menelaus was angry at this, so he gathered all the Greek kings and they surrounded Troy for 10 years. The siege of Troy would not have had an end. The Trojans would have held out indefinitely against the Greeks. But what Ulysses did was he built a horse which was hollow. Inside the hollow horse he placed a few of the Greek soldiers, and he left this hollow wooden horse in front of the gates of Troy. And in the afternoon, the Greeks seemed to sail away from Troy. The Trojans saw the Greek ships leaving Troy shores, and they thought the Greeks had left a gift of a horse and left. So they took the horse into Troy, but under cover of darkness at night, the Greek ships returned, and the soldiers who were inside the horse, they came out and opened the gates of Troy, and the Greeks entered Troy and ransacked it. They burnt and looted Troy, and they destroyed all the Trojan gods and goddesses and left Troy desolate. So Ulysses is also known as Odysseus, and he was one of the cleverest of the generals in the Greek army. And after the siege of Troy, Odysseus sailed on the ocean for 10 years. Ulysses sailed on the ocean for 10 years, and the story of his voyage is the second book of Greek mythology, that is the Odyssey. There are two books of Greek mythology. One is the Iliad and the other is the Odyssey. So the Odyssey is the story of the voyage that Odysseus or Ulysses had on the ocean for 10 years. And in this myth, we see that Ulysses or Odysseus has many more adventures after the siege of Troy. For example, they land in the land of the Cyclops. The Cyclops are giants who have one eye in the center of their forehead. And Ulysses and his men, they manage to overcome the Cyclops, and then they land in the land of the Lotus Eaters. The Lotus Eaters are people who eat the lotus flower, Lotos, not Lotus. The Lotus Eaters, once they eat this flower, they become lazy, they become lethargic, and they don't feel like doing anything. So they spend their lives eating the lotus, and whiling their times away. So Ulysses manages to overcome the lotus eaters with his men, and then they also um, sail between two stones, two rocks on the ocean called Scylla and Charybdis. Scylla and Charybdis have uh, women who are called sirens. The sirens sing so sweetly that they will capture the attention of any passing sailing ship and drag it in between Scylla and Charybdis. And these two rocks will suddenly dash once the ship is between them and crush all the sailors and the ship together. And Ulysses manages to sail between Scylla and Charybdis by stopping his ears and tying himself to a mast and keeping his mind on high things as the ship sails through the sea between Scylla and Charybdis. And eventually, after a journey, after a voyage of 10 years, he reaches Ithaca. Ithaca is his own kingdom. And in Ithaca, his wife Penelope is doing penance because every day suitors come to woo her hand in marriage. And they tell her that Ulysses has died, Ulysses has passed away. But she somehow manages to keep them at bay until Ulysses returns. And once Ulysses reaches Ithaca, he starts to rule his kingdom once more. But all the excitement and the thrills of his voyages and his adventures have had their effect, and he cannot do without the thrills and excitement of the voyages. And in this poem, he recounts his wish to keep having adventures and experience the thrill of adventure uh, till the end of his life. So we'll read the poem. It's Ulysses speaking in the poem, and he says, "It little profits that an idle king by this still heart among these barren crags, matched with an aged wife, I meet and dole, unequal lost unto a savage race that hoard and sleep and feed and know not me." So Ulysses feels that life in Ithaca is dull, there is little profit, and he has to sit idly on the throne, and he has to sit still, sit quietly in front of his hearth or fireplace, and his kingdom is surrounded by barren rocks or crags, and his wife is aged, she is also old, and his duty is to only dole out or give out unequal laws unto a savage race. The people who come to him for justice, the people of Ithaca, have to be satisfied with laws which are unequal, which are not just, maybe, and he feels that the people on his island are savages, they're cruel and barbarous, and the only thing they know is to hold a lot of money, keep a lot of money, and sleep by day and night, and eat and drink and feed, and his own people do not know their own king. They know not Ulysses, he says. They know not him, he says. So he says, I cannot rest from travel. I'll drink life to the lees. So he wishes to have excitement and adventures once more. And he says he'll drink life to the bottom of the cup, the lees. The lees or the dregs are what are left at the bottom of a cup of tasty these, he'll experience all the excitement that he can experience. And he says, all times I have enjoyed greatly. So he has enjoyed all his wars and his battles and his conquests and his plans to overcome the enemy. And he says he's enjoyed himself greatly at all times in his life. And but he has also suffered greatly, he says. He has had to undergo a great deal of toil and effort. He has had to put in a great deal of effort. And he says he enjoyed greatly and suffered greatly, both with those that loved me and alone on shore, and when through scudding drifts the rainy Hyades vexed the dim sea. So he's enjoyed himself in his adventures. He's toiled or suffered a lot with those who loved him, as well as in his own company when he was alone. He enjoyed himself on shore, on the land, and on the sea. He describes the sea, the stormy sea, as the scudding drifts on which the rainy Hyades fixed the dim sea. So when it was gloomy and it was grey and it was overcast and it was cloudy and it rained on the ocean, the scudding drifts which buffeted his ship from all sides, he enjoyed himself alone and with the sailors who sailed with him, who loved him, who had great respect and affection for him. When so it says, I am become a name. So he says he's become a name. He's become famous for always roaming with a hungry heart. Much have I seen and known. So he says that he's famous for always traveling, and he's always eager to meet. He's always eager to see new lands, to meet new people, and he's always hungry for more adventures. And he says he's seen a lot and seen much, and he's known many cities of men in foreign parts, and he's seen the manners, climates, councils, governments, myself not least, but honored of them all. So he's seen a lot of the world. He's seen the manners of people. He's seen the climates of distant lands. He's examined the councils in which the governments of different countries govern themselves. And he says he also knows himself. He also knows his own nature, his own self. And knowing his own self is not the least of his achievements. But he says that he is honored by all those who he has met, and drunk delight of battle with my peers. So the excitement, the thrill of the wars had given him a drunken delight with his contemporaries of peers or the soldiers, even of enemy ranks who have fought against him. Far on the ringing plains of windy Troy, I am part of all that I have met. So he has drunk the delight of battle with soldiers of the enemy camp on the ringing plains of windy Troy, on the Trojan plains, when the Greeks had surrounded Troy, and the Trojans used to come out by day and do battle with the Greeks, when metal clanged against metal, when metal hit metal, when the ringing sounds of war echoed through the plains, he had drunk delight of battle. And he says, I am a part of all that I have met. And he says that he has experienced the best part of all that he has met. And therefore, he leaves a part of himself with those, even those who he has overcome in battle. Yet, he says, all experience is an arch whereto gleams that untraveled world whose margin fades forever and forever when I move. So he says that all is rich and varied and exciting experience is like an arch through which there is an untraveled world. So even though he's seen a lot and done a lot, there's still much more of the world which is untraveled, and the margin of that untraveled world recedes into the distance. And as he moves further and further, and he gets more and more experience, the margin of that untraveled, untrodden world moves further and further when he moves. So he says, how dull it is to fall, to make an end, to rust unburnished, not to shine in years. So after all this, it seems like an anticlimax for him because it is dull to wait and sit and warm himself by the fire and read the books of law and dole out unequal laws to the savage people of his own island. So he says it's dull to make an end and to rust unburnished. So just as a piece of metal, a sword for example, is only shining when it only shines when it is continually used, but it will rust if it's not used. He doesn't want to rust and rest, and he wants to shine in you, as though to breathe were life. So uh, he says that life is not only a set of breaths to be inhaled and exhaled. There's much more to life. There's much more to learn. There's much more to feel. There's much more to experience. So he says, life piled on life were all too little, and of one to me little remains. So he says that if there were life on life given to him, a series of life given to him, that would be too little to experience all the thrills that he could. And he says, of the one life that is given to him, little remains. But every hour is saved from that eternal silence, something more, a bringer of new things. So every hour of his remaining life will be saved from that eternal silence, the silence that accompanies death. Every hour is saved from the final silence, something more, a bringer of new things. So he wants to experience new things. And while it were for some 3 suns to store and hoard myself, and this grey spirit yearning in desire to follow knowledge, like a sinking star beyond the utmost bound of human thought. And he says it were wild or coarse and exasperating for him to rest, to hold his own strength, to keep his own energy without spending it even for a span of 3 suns or 3 days. And he says his spirit is grey, like his hair, is growing old, but his desire is eager. He is eager and yearning in his desire to follow knowledge like a sinking star, the knowledge of the untraveled world which still beckons to him in the distance. And he says he wants to go beyond the utmost bound of human thought. So he wants to further the bounds of knowledge, the boundaries of knowledge. And he says in the next part of the poem, this is my son, mine own Telemachus, to whom I leave the scepter and isle. So his son Telemachus is going to be given the scepter, that is the golden rod of the king, which is a symbol of the king's power, and he's going to bestow the title of King of Ithaca from Telemachus, and he says, Telemachus, well loved of me, discerning to fulfill this labor, by slow prudence to make mild a rugged people, and through soft degrees subdue them to the useful and the good. So it says Telemachus is well loved of him, and he's discerning, or he's a thoughtful person, and he'll fulfill the labor of doing the duties of the king, and he'll do his duty prudently, and with his efforts, he'll make rugged or rough people, the rough people with the car, he'll make them mild, and he'll make them more civilized through soft degrees, and he will take them under his control and subdue them to do good and useful work. Most blameless is he, centered in the sphere of common duties, decent not to fail in offices of tenderness, and pay meet adoration to my household gods when I am gone. So he says, Telemachus is an innocent and a blameless boy, and his life is centered in the common duties of the household, in the common duties of the king of the palace, and he'll not fail in offices of tenderness towards his own family and his own subjects, and he'll pay due adoration. He'll worship the household gods when Ulysses is gone. He works his work, I might. So Telemachus will do his work, and Ulysses will do his work. There lies the port, the vessel puffs the sail. So now Ulysses looks into the harbor where his ship is moored, and in the port, his sailing ship is full. The sails are full of the wind, and they're puffed up by the wind, and the ship is ready to set sail. There gloom the dark broad seas. So in the distance he sees the dark broad seas. My mariners, he says, his sailors who sailed with him for so long, his mariners, the sailors, souls that have toiled and wrought and thought with me. So the souls, the mariners, the sailors have toiled, have struggled and worked hard and wrought new things and shaped new destinies of many people, and they've thought with him, thought out battles, thought out adventures, that ever with the prodigal welcome took the thunder and the sunshine, and of course free hearts, free foreheads, you and I are old. So he says, his mariners, his sailors, always took to the frolic welcome. They were like children. They took both the sunshine on the seas and on land and the thunder with an equally glad of heart, with equally glad hearts. And he says that they always wanted to see more. They had free hearts and free thoughts. And he says that his mariners and he have grown old together. Old age hath yet his honor and his toil. So even though he is old, he still has some work of honor, or some work of honor to be done, and some more effort to be put, some more toil to be undergone. Death closes all. So the final end, before the final end, he wants to do some more work of honor and put in some more effort. But something ere then, some work of noble note may yet be done, not becoming men that strove with gods. So, before the final end of life, some work of noble note may still be done by Ulysses and his men, and that work would be suitable as for people, for men who have strove or struggled with the gods. So in the Trojan War, even gods like Apollo came down and they fought with the mortals on the land in the Trojan War. So the work that is still to be done by Ulysses may be soon will be suitable for the men who strove or struggled with the gods. The lights begin to twinkle from the rocks. So the lights is the moonlight and starlight and even the lights of the city begin to twinkle on the rocks. The reflection of the lights twinkle on the rocks. The long day wanes, so the long day comes to an end. The slow moon climbs. The moon climbs slowly to the sky. The deep room moans around with many voices. The sounding deep of the sea of the ocean is seems to have many voices which are calling to Ulysses. Come, my friends, he tells his mariners. It is not too late to seek a newer world. So he says, let them seek some newer world, push off and sitting well in order, smite the thousand powers. So he asks them to sit in order and row, smite or hit the sounding waves of the sea, furrows of the ocean. For my purpose holds to sail beyond the sunset. So he wants to sail beyond the horizon, beyond the sunset, and the vast of all the western stars of the weather. He says that he wishes to sail beyond the horizon where all the western stars sink into the sky. And he wants to do this until he dies. He wants to keep sailing on the ocean, experiencing new things on the ocean, on land, until he dies. It may be that the gulf will wash us out. So it may chance that some storm on the ocean will sink them to the depth of the ocean and they'll suffer a watery grave. It may be we should touch the happy isles. Or on the other hand, it may equally be possible that they'll sail into the happy isles, that is the heaven of the Greeks, and see the great Achilles. Achilles was one of the warriors of Greece whose mother had given him the power to overcome any enemy. She took the infant Achilles. When Achilles was a baby, she held him by his heels and dipped him into the waters of the river Styx, because the waters of the river Styx in the Greek underworld, if it touches a mortal, if it touches a man, will make him immortal. Nothing can kill him. She held him by the heels, but he became immortal. But the only vulnerable part of him was his heels. So one of the Trojan warriors shot an arrow into his heel and killed Achilles. And Achilles is now in the happy isles, in the heaven of the Greeks. And Ulysses may meet Achilles on his voyages, whom they knew, he says to the mariners. Though much is taken, much abides. Though a lot has been taken from them, much still remains. And though we are not now a strength which in old days moved heaven and earth, that which we are. So even though now they do not have the same strength which when they were younger moved earth and heaven to achieve their tasks, to achieve their goals, to achieve their objectives. That which they are now. One equal temper of heroic hearts. So they are now an equal set of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. So they've been made weak by time and fate, and they become older because of the passage of time, but their willpower, the spirit is still strong. And so this final line of Ulysses which was one of the mottos of my father, is to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. So they wish to strive, they wish to try to find and to search and not to yield to uh, any problem that they may face. So this is the poem Achilles. This is the poem Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson, the poet laureate of England during the time of Victoria, Queen Victoria. Thank you.